I've written a couple of articles now on PEAK8 interval training. This is the exercise that got me to burn fat and lose weight. This is my interval timer. It's important to have one of these while you're doing interval training, as it regiments when you come on to do your sprints and come off your sprints. What this one is 8 repetitions of 30 seconds sprinting with 90-second rest between. And when I say rest, you just come off the pace. I do this at a high rate of resistance, but when you're starting out PEAK8, I would start off at a low resistance just so you can get used to it. I'm using an elliptical machine, but equally you could use a rowing machine, running machine, or a static bike or recumbent bike. I quite like the elliptical because it seems to give quite a full body workout. At the moment I'm just warming up. It's important to warm up, and I try and get my heart rate above 125 beats per minute. So here I am starting my interval timer. It gives me a 10-second countdown before my first sprint. Getting both hands on the higher swinging levers, and this is me underway. I forgot to switch on my heart rate monitor. It's a Mio heart rate monitor. It seems to be quite effective at recording. It's got the green lights. It fires a pulse of light into your wrist. And that's me off the pace. That's the first 30-second sprint done. And what I do is try and just sort of lessen the resistance of the elliptical machine, but keep moving. I'm showing here, and you can't really read it, but it's my first reading after the sprint, and it is around about 165 beats per minute. What you're trying to do with the interval training is get your heart rate to its peak, essentially 8 times, or a build up over time. And how you calculate that is, rule of thumb, you take your age away from 220. So I'm 45, so I take 45 away from 220, and my maximum heart rate should be around 175 beats per minute. Now I've got about another 30 seconds to go before I start the second sprint. How you feel after the sprint, or how do you feel during the sprint? You feel for the first 15 seconds, it's okay. The second 15 seconds get really tough and you get the muscle burn. You will also be gasping for breath by the end of it, and then during your recovery, the sort of first 30 seconds of your recovery, you're still gasping for breath. Then it gets easier again. Right, here we are, just starting the second sprint. So why sprint? Why do 8 sprints? Traditional cardio just activates slow muscle fibers. Doing high intensity interval training activates your super fast muscle fibers, and that's why it's those super fast muscle fibers is why you can do the first part of the sprint reasonably easily. Then the second part is tougher again. That's because you're activating your slower twitch muscles. And why do we want to activate our super fast twitch muscles? It's because it produces human growth hormone. Traditional cardio, just slow-paced running, it doesn't do this. And what human growth hormone does is it burns fat. It's the only substance within the body that can burn fat. It hones in like a heat-seeking missile and burns fat. And doing these peak intervals, it's not about the calorie burn at the time. You will burn some calories, but it's not the same calorie burn as if you would go on a treadmill for an hour, say. But the real benefit is what they call the afterburn, the after effect. The human growth hormone for 2 hours afterwards is still whooshing around your body and just providing so many benefits. And the main one for weight loss is it starts burning fat. Google human growth hormone and you'll just discover it's an amazing substance, and it's stuff that this is all fairly recent in the past couple of years that this is starting to become more in the fore, but so many benefits, anti-aging benefits, fat burning as I've said, and just loads. It's really good for you. And as we get older, I say I'm in my mid-40s now, but from sort of age 36 onwards, your human growth hormone sort of decreases, and that's why we start feeling old, unfit, start to get a bit chubbier and more wrinkles in our faces. It's all because human growth hormone is starting to diminish. Here I am underway with the third sprint, and by this third sprint I am starting to feel it, and you can see I'm grimacing a little bit, and the sweat is starting to appear, and it usually kicks in at about the third sprint that you start to sweat. So it's also useful to take a towel with you and water. You've got to stay hydrated because you will sweat. Heart rate is increasing again, and at the end of this video I'll show you my heart rate pattern from doing this exercise, and why you get the name PEAK8, because your heart rate peaks 8 times. And it's only during these actual peaks that the human growth hormone is secreted into your body, and it's done because those super fast twitch muscles are what activates the human growth hormone. As I say, you don't get that with traditional cardio, because that's only activating your slow and fast twitch muscles, not your super fast ones. When is the highest release stage of growth hormone during our lifespan? It's when we are children, playing, running and sprinting. We don't do so much of that when we're older adults. It's not, kids play, they start and stop. It's almost like they're doing intervals, but they don't know they're doing it. We don't tend to do that as when we get older. Here I am, I'm underway with the fourth sprint. Starts to get tough. Got 10 seconds to go, and I'm feeling it. You can see I'm struggling now. Don't let this put you off doing it, because of the benefits. You only do sprint training 2 to 3 times a week. I've been doing this now for 2 years, and it's just, it's a struggle at the time, but the benefits are so much more. You spend a lot less time in the gym. As I say, this whole exercise with a warm up, a couple of minutes warm up and a sort of minute and a half cool down, plus the exercise in between, you're looking at no more than 20 minutes, and that's all you need to do. You don't need to go onto the weights after that. You can just get out, go home, shower and rest and recover. Then another 2 to 3 days afterwards, you can go off and do it again. Again, drink plenty water. Hello Smiler. Why did I get into PEAK8 interval training? As you'll read on my blog, when I'll put all the links underneath this video, I was overweight, and the thought of exercise just feared me. Not a fan of exercise, wasn't a fan of exercise. And I googled, I wanted to find an exercise that sort of gave the most benefit for the least amount of gym time. And I found it. I found it on Google. I found it through Mercola.com, Dr. Mercola, and his dealings with a chap, sports physician called Dr. Phil Campbell, who invented a thing called Sprint8. And it's just exactly what I was looking for. Minimal time in the gym, with the biggest effect, and that's what this is all about. Effective health, effective fitness, most bang for your buck. Here I am finishing off my 5th sprint, so I'm well over halfway now, 3 more to go, and yep, I'm suffering. What goes on here is that, as I say, you're short of breath, and it takes about 30 seconds to catch your breath back. Just showing, I don't know if you can read that or not, but again, it's showing that the heart rate has gone up again. And the other thing that happens here is a thing called EPOC, excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. Your oxygen, because you're exercising so much, you're actually using up more oxygen than your body can produce. So you'll notice if you wear a heart rate monitor, and I do suggest that you do, just for your own safety and just for monitoring your progress, that after you stop the sprint, your heart rate will increase, and this is the Epoch. And again, that's all part of the showing that human growth hormone is being activated. So 30 seconds, shortness of breath, and again, to sort of demonstrate to yourself that you're doing it correctly, you would probably find it very, very difficult to speak straight after a sprint. And if you can't speak, you're doing it correctly. Just a way to start my 6th sprint. And as I say, during the 90 second, you do need the 90-second recovery time. Say first 30 seconds really tough, and then the remaining 90 seconds, the minute left before your next sprint, you're recovering and your breath comes back. And then, believe it or not, you will be able to go again. You can sprint again. Well, when you're starting out with doing interval sprints, depending on your level of fitness, and I'm aiming at this as people as beginners, don't do the full 8. It would be crazy to do so, and it will just put you off. Undertake 2 or 3 sprints to start with. Next time you go along, do 4, build it up 5, 6, then the full 8. 2 sprints to go, and you can see I'm heavily breathing, sweating, grimacing. You will grimace, but that's a good thing. PEAK8, the routine doesn't change. What you change is the resistance of the machine you're using. Achieving the 8. It's round about sprints 7 and 8. 6, 7 and 8 is when, what they say, the magic happens, when you get the full benefit of doing the interval training. So that's what you're trying to achieve. You can see me starting to ramp up the resistance of the machine again, and as soon as I've come off a sprint, I reduce the resistance of the machine just to allow me an adequate recovery time. Then within the last 30 to 40 seconds before the next sprint, I start putting the resistance up again. So coming up to sprint number 7, the penultimate sprint. Here I go. Now when you go to the gym, I usually have headphones on, and I'd hoped that you could actually hear the interval timer on my phone kick in when to start and to stop, but it's not working. But I usually have music on and plugged in. Don't be tempted to read books, as I've seen people do in the gym, or watch the TV. Your focus here is to focus on the exercise. Get it done properly, get the benefits of it, then leave the gym, then go and relax at home. But don't be tempted to watch TV or read a book, because I've seen people do. Why go to the gym and just meander on a machine and not actually get any benefit? Heavy breathing, that's that sprint finished. Still moving. I think if I recall right, my heart rate's up around about 179 beats per minute, so 4 beats per minute over my maximum heart rate. Again, that's okay. That's me indicating 1 more to go. Can't wait. This was recorded earlier on a Sunday morning. I'd hoped to do the commentary while doing it, but there were other people in the gym, and plus the music in the background. So I thought, well, I'll just record myself doing it and add the commentary later. Anyway, I'm glad I did it this way, because I don't think I would have been able to speak. So coming up to start the last sprint, and this is a good feeling to get to this point. You know you're almost done. You still give it your all when you're in the final sprint. You give it your all in all the sprints. It's the only way you get any benefit out of it. As I say, it's only 60 minutes. When you actually think about it, you're only sprinting for 4 minutes. 8 times 30 seconds is the real what you're exercising. So effectively you're only really exerting yourself for 4 minutes. And that's it, it's done. Now the interval timer will count down another 90 seconds, and I use that as my cool down, and then I'll finish. I'm leaning on the machine just to sort of recover, catch my breath, and again, couldn't get my heart rate past the 179, so that one's reading 179 as well. And at the end of this, I'll show you my trace pattern. Yep, useful having a towel, because by this point I am sweating. Now another thing about interval training, if you're training for marathons or just like running, you will burn calories, but you will also burn muscle. What interval training will actually maintain your muscle and actually to a degree build muscle. You don't get that with traditional cardio. So again, that's another benefit. It will make you lean. Again, I've been doing this for 2 years now, fairly consistent. Haven't really missed any sessions, and I find it sustainable because it is so short an exercise. If I felt I had to go into the gym and work an hour 3, 4, 5 times a week, I wouldn't be interested. And that's me done. It's finished. Yep, just taking a moment, contemplating. And after this, I'll just be buzzing. I'm glad I've done it. So many benefits. And here's the heart trace from that session that you've just watched. Not the perfect trace, because as you remember, I didn't actually start recording my heart rate monitor until I'd finished my first sprint. But you can see the 8 peaks maximizing at 179, sort of 4 beats per minute over my maximum heart rate. And one final point, and this is something that seems to be missed out of a lot of advice about interval training. Do not have anything with sugar for 2 hours after the sprint is completed. That's no sports drinks, no fruit, just no sugar, just avoid sugar, and probably I would avoid carbohydrates as well. The reason why is that sugar kills the production of human growth hormone, stone dead. So this would completely negate the benefits of undertaking this type of exercise. Thanks for watching, and one last piece is always consult with your GP before undertaking any form of physical exercise. Thank you.